This deck is what happens when you put two of the most powerful and popular Pendulum decks and put them together. I've been trying out a whole bunch of ways to play the new Supreme King Pendulum cards, and honestly, a lot of them are pretty powerful and a lot of fun. So I've tried out the regular Pendulum Magicians, I've tried Performa Pals, I've tried Pure, I've tried a lot of different things, and honestly, all of the different decks that I've tried yield pretty decent results. You can get away with quite a lot using basically any of them, but they all seem to sort of have common problems. Like, they didn't play very well through interruption if your opponent knew what to negate, right? Most people luckily don't know how pendulums work, but those who do tend to hit you in the right spots. And going second was always a nightmare into a metagame like this, and I think this deck that we have here is the sweet spot when it comes to balancing the going first power of Supreme King and even Endymion with the going second power that the Mighty Master of Magic brings to the deck. Not only is Endymion himself a fantastic board breaker and game-winning card, he's also a negate, an untargetable beat stick, and the deck brings a number of starter cards with it, which the Supreme King deck kind of lacks, honestly. So the fact that we get Spell Power Mastery, which is an incredible card, and we've also got 3 copies of Servant of Endymion, which is an amazing starter, plus a ton of drawing cards, means that we have way more starters, or I say starters, there's no one card starters in this deck, but like good, powerful opening hands, way more consistently than we do with the other decks. It's not quite as restrictive as some of the other Supreme King variants that I've been playing. Now, I am not a master Pendulum player. I feel like I've gotten quite a lot of practice over the last couple of weeks of playing this deck, and I've gotten pretty good with it, I would say. I think I'm kind of getting there. So I'm not, you know, a total 100% expert, but I've got quite a number of really cool plays that I really want to sort of show off and take you through. I'm going to go over them briefly here at the start, and then we have some replays that's going to go into more detail as we're actually playing them. So talking about some of our more powerful starter cards in the Supreme King side, of course, we have the Supreme King Gate Magician itself, being able to pop itself to play your Gate 0 directly into the Pendulum Zone, and it can also special summon itself from hand if you have the Gate 0 in the Pendulum Zone. As a level 7, then when it's special summon, you get to search your deck for a Supreme King card or a card that mentions Zark, which is great. So this card's ultimately really fucking good. The only thing is, again, much like everything else in this deck, it kind of doesn't do anything by itself, and that's the biggest problem when it comes to Supreme King, and that's where Endymion really shines. As we have a bunch of starter cards for that engine, we have the Dark Worm, which when summoned will search your deck for your Magician. I can also special summon itself back from the graveyard if you don't control any monsters, which is why we're playing Dragon Shrine and Foolish Burial. So a lot of ways of getting to your Gate Magician, and having multiple copies of this card in hand is great because it's a level 7 that you can spam. Love it. You of course have Astrograph, which is an incredible starter in that engine as well. We even have a Wings of Light searching card that allows you to grab any of these. So there's quite a lot of ways to get into your Supreme King Gate Magician, and a lot of ways of abusing that card, as well as the level 4 Light Tuner Lightworm that it brings with it. And when discussing the Endymion side, it does take a genius to figure out that a Servant of Endymion is a nuts card. Not only does it, plus basically any extender, allow you to go into full Pendulum combo with Nibiru protection in the form of the Jackal King, essentially Servant of Endymion, worst case scenario, if you're able to proc its Pendulum effect with 3 spell counters, you summon itself as well as a monster from your deck that you can place a spell counter on, and you can use those 2 cards to go into Electromite right away. So by itself, if you manage to get a few spell counters onto it, this card starts off with your Electromite and you're just fucking straight gaming from there, which is awesome. Combine this with literally any card on the field, which you're gonna have, right? That's the thing about this deck, basically infinite gas, and you're able to get a Jackal on your field, which is a monster negate, while also having Endymion and another card to go into your Electromite and do all of your combos from there. So you could very easily have like perfect nib protection in this deck, which is great. And the deck is a little bit pricey for those looking at it. You know, you got that triple chicken game, you got the triple Upstart Goblin. These cards are really, really good. Are they absolutely mandatory to the playing of the deck? Absolutely not, of course, right? They're just additional draw power. They're just additional spells. If you are going to be tagging these cards out, do try to aim for spell cards to take their place, but we'll talk about that towards the end of the video. For now, I just want to get into some gameplay, show off a couple of replays, and sort of show you how the deck works. I can sit and throw information and words at you all freaking day. Look at the number of goddamn words on this card. No, you need to see this shit in action if you're going to actually understand what the fuck I'm talking about. So we're going to hop in, play a few replays, talk through them, show off some of the combos and plays, and we'll go over the deck list at the end. If you're interested in catching more content like this, make sure you're subscribed to catch it as it comes out, and like this video. Let me know how you're enjoying the content. I've been changing up sort of schedules and formats and style of content an awful lot recently, just to test the waters and improve myself and my skills as not only a YouTuber, but a content creator in general, right? So if you've got any suggestions, questions, queries, whatever, leave them below. If you are liking it, like the video to let me know you're enjoying it. But anyways, let's get into those replays. Now, this replay is pretty interesting because an initial glance at this hand, and you see 3 copies of any card that's a hard one to return, you're automatically kind of turned off a little bit. But these 3 cards are an incredible starting hand. This is insane, right? You may, again, an experienced Pendulum player watching this combo may cringe a little at what we do here, but I think I set up a pretty fucking impressive board. I'm not gonna lie. Foolish Burial here for the Supreme King Darkworm. Darkworm gonna activate Engrave, bringing itself back to the field, activating on field to search our deck for the Magician. Playing Spell Power Mastery, grabbing the big man himself, the Endymion. We're gonna play 2 counters onto our Servant. Servant's going to summon the Jackal King, and this is what I meant before putting the Jackal on board. Now, the reason I activate the Supreme King Gate Magician now is just to put additional counters on my Jackal to ensure it actually has a monster in the gate that's live. Now we're going to go into Electromite, and we're going to get gaming. We're going to use Electromite, placing the Astrograph in the Pendulum Zone. Gate Magician popping itself as the gate. We're going to activate the Electromite to draw a card, playing our Endymion into the back row, popping the Endymion to grab the Astrograph, and this is pretty big. You're going to use this card's effect to pop Endymion a lot because of Astrograph's ability to summon itself and search your deck for another copy of either Endymion or the Supreme King Gate Magician. You can search for both if you pop it off of Electromite. We're going to go for the Gate Magician on summon, of course, searching for our Lightworm before going Link 3 into Exceed the Pendulum. Exceed the Pendulum, going to grab Astrograph back from the extra, playing our Supreme King Dragon Lightworm into the Pendulum Zone as a Pendulum Scale 8, which is awesome. Summoning out Astrograph to win the Apollosa, even more monster negates. We're going to bring out Endymion, the Mighty Master of Magic, off our Pendulum Summon, as well as Astrograph Sorcerer and our Supreme King Gate Magician. Going Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon, the Absolute Dragon, and our Magician going into SP Little Knight, triggering the Absolute Dragon in the graveyard to bring out the Vortex Dragon. Now, in this particular version of the deck, this was sort of early days. I believe I was playing Super Poly in this version, so my extra deck was a little bit tighter. So if you're like a pro Pendulum player, and you're out there and you're looking at this and thinking that's garbage, I was a little bit lower on space than I would like, and this was me learning the deck. I think this is pretty fucking good, right? We have 2 monster negates here, we have a monster negate and destroy here, an omni negate here, banish, and a spell trap negate. I think this is a goddamn decent board, plus the follow-up with the scales and the Astrograph, and it's just really fucking good, right? So we're just playing, and this is, and again, we did have a fairly good hand again. Foolish, Servant, and Spell Power Mastery is insane. They're gonna go extra here, and I think they're playing Flu, and they just totally fucking do nothing. Yeah, they go Morganite into this, and I'm pretty sure they just scoop as soon as I make any play. Me and 1, switch to Vortex, yeah, and then attack. 24, 25, 28, and lethal. Nice easy game, showing off a lot of the plays and the combos there. Is that a realistic hand you're going to be seeing all of the time? No, of course not, right? That is showing off what I believe to be sort of like one of the better boards that the deck can put up. Again, if you're playing it as a professional player, or if you're maybe playing different extra deck choices than what I was, you could possibly do something even better. But that's the joy of Pendulums, right? The joy of Pendulums is that you can really fuck around and find out, which is why I'm actually really coming around to Pendulum decks right now. I'm kind of like a skill renaissance right now. I'm fucking loving it because you can really fuck around. That's game 1. Let's get into another game. All right, getting into this game, slightly different hand, but still pretty damn awesome if I do say so myself. We're gonna go for that chicken game. This is the value of chicken game, my guys. Chicken game is pretty fucking nuts. Just draw the 1-up, right? I mean, if you're just better at the game, why not just do that way, right? We're gonna go Servant of Endymion here. Servant of Endymion, summoning out the Jackal King, of course. Gonna use these 2 to go into Beyond the Pendulum. Beyond the Pendulum, and then basically just gonna grab us the Supreme King Gate Magician, which is just another amazing consistency tool. Like, Pendulums, the reason Pendulums can get away with having so much like bullshit in their deck and having the fact that they don't have like any true one card combos is the fact that they have so many goddamn engine cards that they can put in their extra deck. Like Beyond the Pendulum and Exceed the Pendulum are insane. Electromate is disgusting as a card. Electromate is nuts. So the fact that we've got all of these amazing consistency cards really drastically makes up for the fact that we don't have any one card combos, honestly. We're going to go Jackal and Astrograph here, of course, using Astrograph and Beyond the Pendulum to go into Exceed the Pendulum, grabbing back the Astrograph. You want to loop that card as much as you can, popping a card off of our Supreme King Magician, summoning out the Astrograph because we just destroyed one of our cards, another really cool piece of synergy, grabbing another Supreme King, using its effect, sending our Dragon, summoning itself, using its effect to grab our Light Worm yet again. Now Exceed, summoning into the Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon, Exceed the Pendulum, bringing out the Light Worm, grabbing the Magician from the extra deck to the hand. We're gonna go in the Appaloosa here using our Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon, summoning out the Vortex Dragon, and we've also got a Baron because we got that level 4 tuner on deck. So there you go, Omni, 2 monsters and set non-engine. You love to see it. Plus our skills are ready to fucking go, man. That's the thing about having the skills. Skills are not a nothing. Like, if the fact that they have to deal with my entire board and then still have to deal with skills afterwards, they are going to draw a card off a chicken game. But you know what? They need every card they can get. Snake Eyes, they may be playing the best deck in the game, but they're up against him, right? They're fucking struggling. So we decide the Appaloosa. This normally, like, you wouldn't, but our Appaloosa is only 1600 and doesn't really have any battle phase protection. So from my perspective, I know he's just gonna fucking put the pause on it. So I'm not gonna let it just get destroyed after doing nothing. So it's gonna go Snake Eye Ash. That's his normal summon, and I just look at that and think, I've got 2 Omnis. This is like a clean negate, right? Like, this is a fucking clean negate. I was keeping Baron for a board breaker, but he just had nothing. Or there you go, Vortex shuts him down immediately. Vortex, not a once while face up like Baron. That is once per turn Omni negate. Pendulum summoning. Look at the follow-up, right? There you go, Jackal and Supreme King on the field just like that. Going for our Baron to pop the mystery back row card. I am going to negate his negate, of course, because the only card he has remaining is the card that I'm popping, and he realizes how hard he is fucked and decides to tap out. And you know what? I can't blame him. That shit was kind of rough. And there you go. Another perspective of just showing the deck absolutely cleaning house against Snake Eyes, of all things. The best deck in the game, supposedly. But anyways, next up. This is, it wouldn't be a Converged gaming video if I didn't show me getting my ass beat at least once, right? We got that double Gamma. I was running Gamma, okay, right? I went through a lot of phases. This is how you know, like, I put in the effort with this deck. I really fucking tried. And I knew Gamma on Electromite was just turnover here. I really, like, did put in a lot of work into, like, learning how this deck works. I think I've gotten quite good with this deck, right? I'm not an expert. I don't think I'm an expert, but I'm not terrible with the deck. We're gonna go Spell Power Mastery, grabbing Servant of Endymion. It always feels bad to use that when you don't have a skill already up, but it is what it is. Chicken Game gonna come out, drawing us an extra card, drawing it directly into the 0 gate. We're gonna use the Supreme King Magician now that we don't need to use its effect. It does kind of... So normally drawing this card is not a problem. In fact, it's actually quite helpful if you've already got this in hand, because you don't need to go through any shenanigans to like loop it or grab a second one or anything like that. However, when you've got the Astrograph in hand, you really want to use Supreme King Gate Magician's effect to pop itself to play the skill, just to trigger Astrograph in extra time. So it was pretty unfortunate that we drew the one of, but you know, it's not the end of the world, right? Grabbing the Dark Worm, that's another thing I love about this deck. I know I keep on pausing this, and I would apologize, but I'm not sorry. But another thing I love about this deck is that there are very, 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 very few cards that if I drew them, I'm thinking to myself, damn, I wish this was a different card. You know what I mean? Like, the only time I'm looking at a hand and I'm thinking to myself, damn, I wish I could, like, reload my hand, is if I've got, like, 3 copies of the Mighty Master, right? But every card in this deck has its value, and that's because they're Pendulum cards. Everything has its value, right? Straight from the fucking streets of New Domino City. So we got the Mighty Master Magic coming out, and the Servant, of course. You got that Spell Trap Negate on deck. We're gonna go Electromite. This was a little bit before I learned the value of Jackal, but I did send the Jackal because we've already got Astrograph here. He reverse gammas my Electromite like a bitch. So I get reverse gammed by this fucking asshole. We're gonna go Astrograph here, special summoning the Astrograph out from hand, summoning out the Dark Worm as well. Technically speaking, we don't have any searchable targets off of Astrograph, so we're just gonna go beyond the Pendulum. We're gonna grab our Magister of Endymion, playing it into the extra skill that we have opened. Now we're going to Pendulum summon out our Jackal and our Astrograph. We are not done yet, bringing out the Supreme King Gate Magician, popping 2. Then he goes Nibiru. The bro was just ready. We had lethal. We had the road to victory. But he had the he had the rock. We just got fucking rocks thrown on us. We got stoned to death, so we did. They're going to go Chicken Game, paying 1,000, drawing a card. They're going to go Valence of Voltage, Viscount. It's definitely this card, by the way. For those of us who don't know, Viscount, hate that word. Unrelated story. Back when I was playing Pokemon Diamond for the first time, I didn't know how to say the word facade. I thought it was facade. So there you go. There's fucking lore. They're gonna play a bunch of Valence shit, and I wish I could tell you what was going on during this turn. I really do, right? I mean, Valence is a deck. It's one of the decks that have ever existed, and I definitely should know how it works by now. But unfortunately, I have just a smidgen too much self-esteem to go and actually read these cards, so I haven't yet, right? So you guys can let me know down below whether or not they're like good. He goes access code here. They're gonna summon out again, continue to summon out the Baron, then move the Viscount, use Viscount effect, placing another card into the Pendulum zone. But 853 is unfortunately enough to win the game, so I'm not too worried about it. Can't be a bad deck. It beat my ass. All it took was Gamma and the Biru. Fuck you. Next game. We're actually moving further back in time the deeper into this video we get, because these games are getting older and older, but this one was one back from when I was first learning how to play the deck that I really wanted to show off because of D-Fissure, and this applies to like most general sort of floodgatey cards. D-Fissure, Macrocosmos, Erase Heart, the way in which those cards interact with Pendulum decks is really quite annoying, because even though your monsters normally wouldn't go to the graveyard, they do in fact still get banished by the likes of Dimensional Fissure, which is very, very annoying. So we're going to show a little bit of us attempting to play through D-Fissure Pearly. Pearly is already a relatively powerful deck. It's definitely got some fucking hands nowadays. They're going to go for Sleepy Memory. Sleepy Memory summoning out the Pearly directly from the deck. Pearly going to reveal the top 3 of the deck, hitting the Trap card and Sleepy Memory, just because apparently he's good at the fucking video game. They're going to go for the E-Pearly Noir, using the Pearly Lee on the field, activating Sleepy Memory. They're going to chain to that the E-Pearly Noir to set a trap directly from the deck to the field while equipping that card on as material. They're going to for the Pot of Greed here. I don't believe, however, that they get enough material to make themselves unaffected, which does present us an opportunity. They still get several spins, and they have Floodgates, and they have the Trap card, so like they still got shit going on, right? But they're not invincible, which we can try to take advantage of here. So let's give it a shot. They're gonna Pot of Greed, of course. They're gonna draw 3 cards actually, which is kind of fucked, but you know, it's fine. We're gonna draw a card of our own. We're gonna draw 1. I definitely should have went for Servant first, but you know, your boy's not very smart. We're just gonna Pendulum summon off rip, right? Because we really kind of don't want to do too much, like. So when you're dealing with the likes of D-Fissure and other similar floodgates, you really can't afford to sit around and wait on your opponent making plays. So the reason I specifically wanted to vomit my whole hand onto the field is because what is Pearly's biggest nightmare? It's Goddess, right? I want to force him into making a play that stops me from going into Goddess, so that I'm not as worried about my actual win condition, which is this guy. So let's wait and see. They're going to go for Imperm, targeting the Dark Worm, because of course they are. We're going to go for the Mighty Master of Magic to negate. They're going to go for the E-Pearly Noir, targeting my Light Worm and spinning it back to my deck. They really don't want me to go into any synchro plays, which makes total sense, I suppose. We're going to negate that Imperm, because I do in fact want to get searching for my cards. We're going to grab our Magician from our deck, searching our deck for Wings of Light as well. We're going to go Servant of Endymion, activating Wings of Light to get a spell counter, adding our Light Worm directly back to the hand, normal summoning it, and going into Baguska. Baguska is, in fact, a big part of this deck's win con. into floodgates. We do unfortunately have to banish a couple of our cards for the Electromite. We're going to go Electromite, grabbing the Astrograph by popping the Chicken Game, which stops him from using it and stops us from not being able to inflict damage. Baguska switching all our cards to defense, unfortunately, before going into Selene. Selene's going to get how many counters? We're getting 9 counters, and that is part of the win con. Selene is going to be one of the main ways in which you're going to use the board breaking potential of the Mighty Master of Magic. This card, when it's summoned, grabs spell counters up to the number of spells in both players' grave. If that equals 6, or your total number of spell counters equals 6, you can special summon the Mighty Master of Magic directly from the Pendulum Zone and then destroy cards your opponent controls non-targeting up to the number of different cards in your field that can accept the spell counter. We pop 3, non-targeting on resolution of Endymion's spell effect, meaning Baguska doesn't negate it. We can go for our board wipe under Baguska, which is just amazing. Of course, we do still get switched to defense, but whatever, right? And we still have enough spell counters on our Selene, actually, to bring a monster back from our graveyard. That's pretty sick. Sorry, we're going to summon from hand here, actually, because, D-Fissure was up. They're going to shuffle some stuff back. That's totally fine. We're going to go for the Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon. Baguska switching into defense. Now we're going to go into SP Little Knight, not Access Code. I believe at this point I may not have been playing Access Code. I was not playing Access Code. I think actually this is the game that made me put Access Code back into my deck. I took it out for something else. Drake Attack, that's what it was. That's dumb. Don't do that. You have to play Access Code. That card's busted. So we went Little Knight instead, which is totally fine. We're going to use it to banish the Pearly, removing some of their grind game potential, summoning out the Vortex so that if and or when he deals with Baguska, he still then has to contend with the Vortex Dragon. And Baguska kind of clears this deck. I'm not going to lie. Baguska's kind of fucking strong into Pearly. So he's going to start activating spells. He keeps using spells. I'm going to keep getting spell counters, my guy. You're going to start summoning cards and not being able to use your effects like a fucking dingus. He's going to realize relatively quickly that this is just not his game. A second D-Fissure, by the way, just because why not, of course. Into my turn, he just doesn't really have very much in the way of playable cards. We're going to go Baguska and Vortex to attack mode, Servant of Endymion, detaching 3, summoning Endymion, the Mighty Master of Magic, directly from the deck to the field, and our Servant into the battle phase, attacking with the Servant, getting reduced to 0. That's fine. 21, 28, 25, and 16 for game. Bit of a weird one, for sure. Definitely an odd game to be had, but it shows us playing under Floodgates, playing up against Pearly, shows the importance of Baguska and some of the extra deck construction. So yeah, ultimately, really cool replay. This was early days with the deck, so there were still a few things I was maybe a little unsure of, but I still think it showed off quite a lot of very impactful parts of the deck. But anyways, talking about the deck, let's get the list on screen. And here we have it. This is the most recent version of the deck that I've been playing, and it's been a goddamn blast. I would definitely, if you're even remotely curious about Pendulums or Endymion, because let's be real, look at these cards. Tell me that this is not one of the nicest cards to exist in Yu-Gi-Oh! God damn. But if you're even the slightest bit curious about Pendulums and you want to pick something up and you don't want to be like the same as everybody else, you want to be different, right? You want to be the snowflake of the group, play this shit. This is awesome. I love this. Deck's really good. It's a little pricey. It's kind of pricey. So the thing is, Chicken Game and Upstart Goblin are the two cards that everyone points to when they say that this deck is expensive, and you're right, for sure, absolutely. So let's assume for a moment you don't have these cards. Number one, if you have them, play them. If you don't have them and you're sort of free to play and you don't want to invest in the cards that you're not going to use in every deck, they're not one-use cards. You use them in Strikers, you use them in, like, I was going to say Spellbooks, but nobody plays Spellbooks. That's not a real deck. But my point is you'll use them in a couple of decks, but it's really niche usage. So I understand if maybe somebody who doesn't play the game a lot or somebody who doesn't put money into the game doesn't want to craft them. I get that. Some of the other options that I was playing was Super Polymerization. This card was clutch. This card's really fucking good. I would recommend if you don't want to craft those cards and you want some more board breaking potential, Super Poly is awesome. Tactics is a fantastic card for sure. Definitely recommend this. You could also always play an additional Dragon Shrine. You can't you can't go wrong with more copies of a free special summon and search, right? This card's fucking mental. You got Harpy's Feather Duster is a great option. Even Raigeki, honestly, isn't the worst. It's not as good as Feather Duster, I don't think. But Raigeki, Change of Heart, all of these generic going second cards are still pretty damn great as well. So as long as you're kind of playing spells, you can technically play Forbidden Droplet. I just don't... It's a lot of cards to give up, if that makes sense. Going second. This card's unironically actually better going first. Because by that stage, you've kind of set up enough advantage to where having it usable on your opponent's first turn is pretty fucking awesome. As a board breaker, going second, I don't like it as much in this deck because, like I said, you don't have one card combos. You kind of need to make the most of every card in your hand. But I can imagine it being good in a pinch, for sure, if you want to play it. Absolutely. Yeah, Cosmic Cyclone, really good card right now. Cosmic Cyclone's another fucking fantastic one. So there's so many options to play if you don't want to invest into the draw cards. But drawing cards is awesome. Again, the amount of times I've won games just because I drew more cards than my opponent is just... it's a lot. It happens a lot. So that's what that's all I'm saying, really. In terms of extra deck shit, you don't gotta play this guy. He's just here as a send target off of the Supreme King Gate Magician. This can be any sand card target off this. This could be Starving Venom, for example. This could be anything that's applicable off of this guy's effect you can put here. I'm just putting it here because it's shiny and pretty, right? That's it. Plus, he's actually a kind of dope card if you manage to summon him, but I've literally never used this effect. But yeah, other than that, this is the deck, right? It's pretty straightforward. You do get a little bit of flex with the extra. You don't have to play Punisher. Like I said, this card can be any applicable target. In terms of the high-end Link stuff, after playing the deck for quite a bit, I really think that this sort of Link lineup is really fucking effective. You can, like, you kind of have a little bit of flex maybe on Goddess. If you're a psychopath, you don't have to play Access Code Talker. But again, I've learned game after game that this card's fucking great. So I'd recommend playing it. So you have a little bit of flex, but it's still kind of tight. I'm not gonna lie to you, Chief. I really like Punisher because 4 and 7 comes up a lot, and Punisher is just sometimes the difference between winning a game and losing a game. Yeah, I'm rambling at this point because the deck has so much to talk about, and I don't have nearly enough time to talk about it. This deck's just mental. If you're somewhat new to Pendulums, it is a ball ache to learn. You will lose to time a lot. Don't be discouraged. Go into ranked, play against your friends, play against solo mode, do whatever you need to do. Get the practice in, read the cards, lose games. Don't be afraid to lose games. Don't get disheartened by losing games. If you walk away from any game knowing even one more interaction than when you went in, that loss was worth it. And you're going to be doing that a lot with a deck like this. But once you get it, oh boy, does it feel good to play. So that's everything I've got to say about this. Again, if you're a more experienced Pendulum player and you want to get like your 2 cents in, absolutely throw them in the comments or even hop into the Discord and put something in our Supreme King channel. Again, if you're watching this and you're not on the Discord, by the way, what the hell are you doing? Join the Discord. But if you have any feedback as a Pendulum player, by all means, and if you as viewers have any feedback in regards to the style of this video, I'm expecting this video to come out not quite as heavily edited as the previous ones. We're trying to find that sweet spot between content quality, production time, everything else. So let me know what you think of it. I don't even really know what this is going to look like by the time you see it, but you know what? If you're watching this, you got far enough, and I appreciate you for sticking around. Subscribe, like, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.